Over 10 years ago, as I slept beside my husband, I woke up in what at first seemed like a dream. There were 3 tables in front of me. There was one woman who was already lying on the table, a second woman who was getting ready to get on the table, and then there was a third woman off to the side of these tables who I knew worked there. The middle table was for me. Now, I knew that I had been in this place before, but I didn't belong there, not like the lady who stood off to the side of the 3 tables. They were metal tables, just like an exam table, maybe at a vet's office. The area itself was very subdued, a soft gray, and while I felt it was a room, I couldn't detect any specific edges. I didn't see any light source. Before I could get on the table, I walked over to the woman who I knew belonged there and worked there. I turned my back to her, lifted my long hair off my neck, and then she made some sort of adjustment at my spine or right at the base of my skull. Then I went back. I laid down on the center table, and the moment that I was prone on the table, I just whooshed out of my body. I didn't realize at the time that I had left my body. I just knew that my perspective had changed. So I knew that I had been on a table. Then I realized I was higher up, and I looked down to see where, what was below me now. And there was this thing lying flat that looked like a deflated balloon or maybe a squeezed, empty toothpaste that had been squeezed of all its contents. And I didn't even recognize it as a body. It just was a thing. I kind of stared at it because I was curious about it and I didn't really understand where I was or how I had gotten high above this thing. So as I stared at it more, looking at what it had on and just the face, and I began to realize, oh, this is a body. This is a person. Oh, I recognize those clothes. I recognize that face. That's me. Then there was this shift in consciousness that was just clear as day. There had been one before when I shifted out of my body, but this one was more pronounced. I realized that I wasn't in my body anymore. I asked, well, if my body's down there, if I'm down there, then how could I be up here? Then I wondered, well, what do I look like then? And I lifted my left hand before my eyes or my vision, and there was this perfect outline, ghostly like outline, because it was transparent, of my hand. It was the most spectacular thing that I had ever seen at that point. It was this sunlight, early morning sunlight yellow or golden, very soft, but inside that light of gold were all of these tiny sparkles like little stars just in my hand. And I was enthralled. I just couldn't believe that I was that beautiful. I think maybe I said at the time, I'm beautiful. And it was at that point that off somewhere, I felt like it was to my right, a voice. And at the time, I think I thought it was feminine. But as I remember it now, I don't recall it being either. It was kind of this neutral voice, and it was humored at me, or because I was just watching myself and admiring myself. And so I didn't hear a chuckle, but you know how when someone's kidding and kind of humored by you, you can hear it in their voice. And so in this being's voice off to the side, I heard, you need to stop admiring yourself. You have a job to do. With all of that, And the timing is weird because there's not a sense of time, or at least there wasn't while I was there. I couldn't say like, oh, that had been 5 minutes or 2 minutes or an hour. It just, that seemed like all happened at the same time or just rapidly. And anyway, so while this being said to me, stop admiring yourself, you have a job to do, I just was getting this enormous blanket of love that wrapped around me and filled every bit of me with love and acceptance and joy. And I knew that in this being's eyes, I could never do anything wrong. It accepted me as I was. It knew everything I had done, my good, my bad, all of it. It didn't matter because it loved me. That was the most amazing feeling ever, to be completely accepted by something. At that moment also, I realized, upon reflection later, I didn't remember Earth. I didn't know that's where I had come from. I didn't know I had a family. I didn't know I had problems. I didn't, or that I had a good life or a bad life, that I had a cat, children, nothing. I did not know about Earth like we don't really know about the afterlife. All I knew in that time frame or that moment was that I was home. I was joyous. Only what I was experiencing at that time was real. And so with the realization that I had a job to do, my thought of it took me towards my work. I began moving, and moving was fantastic. On Earth, we're slow, we're heavy, we have a mass to move. In this golden body that I had, I was like light. And I could move what felt like as fast as light. And with thought, I began moving towards what I was there to do. I flew like smoke or light beams over top of an office space. And below me, it was just a typical office. I could see men and women on their phones, at their desks, shuffling papers, all of that. I focused in on one particular woman, just saw her on the phone with it kind of stuck between her shoulder and her ear. And she was swiveling around, putting something in a filing cabinet. And then I was off. I had a realization as I moved on that I was there for a woman. I was there to help a woman. That thought, I was pulled and drawn even faster to my target, to the person I was there for. As I got closer, I realized I was there to help her, to comfort her. And I saw her off in the distance. It was weird because it was as if there was this staircase, this typical apartment or office building staircase plopped right in front of me, but there was no building around it. It was just the staircase. She was stuck kind of at the bottom. She needed to climb those stairs. I was there to offer her support, confidence, to help her get to the top. So she could not see me, she could not hear me, but she could feel what I felt and what I offered her. And so I floated beside her. I just remember giving her this feeling of love and you're okay, you'll be fine, keep going, keep climbing, everything will be okay. But she was terrified. Even though I guess she had to be able to feel me because that's why I was there. I mean, giving her the strength to climb the stairs. But I could also feel her fear. I didn't become afraid, but I could sense it. I could feel how terrified she was. And so I stayed beside her for this seemed like a really long time. That I was with her and trying to get her to climb the stairs and just sending her wave after wave of support, love, encouragement. Finally, when she got to the top of the stairs, then it opened up as if the stairs, at the landing of the stairs, was this layer of clouds, of white, pristine clouds. All around was a white light. And when I say light, it wasn't as if there were a bulb somewhere. It was, the light was the space that I had come up to. It was gorgeous and pristine and clear and bright. And she got to the top, and then off in the distance, I noticed there was this little arched bridge. That was my next goal, was to get her across this bridge. And she was still hesitant, but less so. I continued floating beside her, offering her support, encouraging her to move towards the bridge. And then when she got across the bridge, I didn't see her after that. I saw her get on the bridge, and then, without any will of my own, I was sucked backwards immediately, like someone had a straw and went backwards. I went. I woke up on my bed, back in my body, but this is what has haunted me really for all these years. When I woke in my bed, I felt, first of all, it was dark, and I felt incredibly heavy. Not fat, heavy, as if I were lead or a rock. That startled me, because I had just come from being what I felt was light and energy to what felt oppressively heavy, weighted. Then, I didn't know where I was. I didn't know I was on Earth. I didn't know I was in my bed. I didn't know I was beside my husband. I was terrified. How do you forget that you're in your own bed? Even when you wake from a dream, you know that, okay, oh, that's a bad dream, or oh, that's a great dream, and you know that you're in your bed. How do you forget that you're in your own house? I had no idea. And this only took seconds, of course, but after a few seconds, it was as if I had a download, is the best explanation of being re-informed. This information filled me, and all of my life, where I was now back. It was as if I partly at that time knew where I had been, knew where I was, and I didn't want to be now where I was, at home on Earth, in a body. I just cried. I couldn't stop crying. I thought, as I lay there completely sad, that I had been in this horrendous, or I had been in this beautiful place, and now I was in what felt like a horrendous place, Earth. I wondered, well, if I go back to sleep, since I was asleep, maybe I'll go back there. I tried, and I willed myself back to sleep, and I did go back to sleep, but I did not go back to where I had been.